Welcome to this service. As we stop out of the busyness of our days, and perhaps even in the morning, if you're taking time to look at this in the morning, I just would like us to just take a moment to settle ourselves, take a deep breath, and center our thoughts on the words that we will share together today. Our story is another Easter story following the crucifixion and the fact that Jesus was not found at the tomb. This is taken from Luke 24, verses 13 through 35. It's a passage that some of you will be familiar with, the road to Emmaus. Now on that same day, two of them were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem, and talking with each other about all the things that had happened. While they were walking and discussing, Jesus himself came near and went with them, but their eyes were kept from recognizing him. And he said to them, "What are you discussing with each other while you walk along?" They stood still, looking sad. Then one of them, whose name was Cleopas, answered him, "Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem who does not know the things that had taken place there in these days?" He asked them, "What things?" And they replied, "The things about Jesus of Nazareth, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, and how our chief priests and elders handed him over to be condemned to death and crucified him. But we had hoped that he was the one to redeem Israel. Yes, and besides all of this, it is now the 3rd day since these things took place. Moreover, some women of our group astounded us. They were at the tomb early this morning, and when they did not find his body there, they came back and told us that they had indeed seen a vision of angels who said that he was alive." Some of those who were with us went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said, but they did not see him. Then he said to them, "Oh, how foolish you are, and how slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have declared. Was it not necessary that the Messiah should suffer these things and then enter into his glory?" Then, beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted to them the things about himself in all the scriptures. As they came near the village to which they were going, he walked ahead as if he were going on. But they urged him strongly, saying, "Stay with us, because it is almost evening, and the day is now nearly over." So he went in to stay with them. When he was at the table with them, he took bread, blessed it, and broke it, and gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he vanished from their sight. They said to each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he was talking to us on the road, while he was opening the scriptures to us?" That same hour they got up and returned to Jerusalem, and they found the 11 and their companions gathered together. They were saying, "The Lord has risen indeed, and he has appeared to Simon." Then they told about what happened on the road and how he had been made known to them in the breaking of bread. Why is it that sometimes we just don't see things that are right in front of our eyes? Even when we're looking straight at them, that expression you're familiar with, "can't see the forest for the trees," fits. Either we are caught up in the details that we can't see the bigger picture, or similarly, we have already made up our minds so that anything else that presents itself goes unnoticed or is dismissed. In the passage that we just shared, the 2 disciples were walking along the road, rehashing the events of the previous days. Exhibiting quite normal behavior, they were essentially going through the motions of their lives. We have no idea why they were walking to Emmaus and why just the 2 of them. Where were they going? We have no idea, but they were just going through the motions. Lives numb with loss and trying to make sense of all that had happened, that they had seen and heard. And they took the opportunity to share with a fellow sojourner on the road, perhaps in an attempt to comprehend it. Sometimes it helps to just share it and say it over and over again so that it sinks in and they can have a greater grasp of it. Of course, being so lost in their grief and sure of not seeing Jesus again, they were totally blinded to the fact that it was him right before their eyes. They did not expect him, so they did not see him. However, there was something about his presence that touched them. Through the eyes of their hearts, they saw something special about him, enough that they invited him to stay with them that evening. And then, when they sat at the table, and Jesus took the bread, he blessed it, and he broke it, and he gave it to them. In that moment, their eyes were open wide, and they recognized him. In the simple act of sharing, the precious act of broken bread that symbolized the breaking in of God into the world in profound love. As he broke the bread and the crumbs fell to the table, so the blindness fell from their eyes, and they saw and they knew the meaning of all that took place. Out of the darkness comes the beaming light of joy. It is the resurrection story. Hope made real. As I sit here, I think about how easy it is to become lost in the darkness of these days. We can't avoid it. It's around us every day. There is little news that isn't about the virus and the heaviness of our realities, the weight of it upon us. So much so that many are depressed, heavy-hearted, lost, alone, feeling overwhelmed by negative thoughts. And there is no shame in having such feelings. It is completely normal. And yet, it is also completely within our grasp to see reason for hope and joy, love and peace, even in the midst of the darkness. Rather than let worry and fear block our vision of better days, our faith invites us to see the goodness that exists within these times and allow our focus to lie on moments that bring hope and bring promise. The story we heard, The Road to Emmaus, is about a journey of enlightenment, a journey of eye-opening awareness, a journey that reveals the wonder of light and life out of the darkness. It is finding the way to see through the eyes of our hearts to a deeper meaning and purpose for our lives, a vision of hope. I regularly hear the expression about returning to the way things were before the virus, but it is certain that we cannot go back to the old ways of doing things. There are lessons to learn in the midst of this time of how we go about our living, how we prioritize that which is important to us, how we walk on this earth, how we act out of love and justice for all people, how we value every moment, and how we make the best of what we have. This is our road to Emmaus, if you will. Our road that reveals out of the dark the ever-present love and hope that awakens our hearts and shows us the possibilities of good that surround us even now. In closing, I am reminded of the quote, "When it rains, look for rainbows. When it's dark, look for stars." These are the things of faith. These are the gifts of hope. Blessings and peace to you this day.